seems like people are puzzled about why don't the Christian world, why don't they recognize what the Bible says about Israel? God gave the land to Abraham. What's going on? Can't they see that? Can't they see Ezekiel? Can they see all of this? Well, I'm here to tell you that the intellectual church doesn't care because they have sort of reinterpreted the Bible. And when it comes to what's going on, what everyone is missing is that we're fighting the same enemy, and it is cultural Marxism. It's a form of critical theory, and what's taken place between whites and blacks in these diversity and inclusion offices, what's taken place at the universities, in business, the Christian academies, it's the same battle that the Jews are facing. And so you can't, you have to know your enemy, and you'll never be able to reach the church or people in academia until you realize their tactics and their techniques. And so they revise history, and they use language. They use language very cleverly. And if you want to understand the cultural Marxism, then you have to do some reading. You have to go back and read some of the theorists, the cultural Marxists. You have to read Saul Alinsky. You have to read Herbert Marcuse. You have to read some of these people. George Orwell's 1984, that was about revising history. Well, we're living that right now. And so what's taking place is the revision of language, history, and it's the same goal. It's all about division. It's not about uniting, but it uses the language of social justice and equality and love and freedom. It's saying that. They want free speech, but they don't want free speech for people that are saying things that they don't agree with. And so that is what is taking place. And so you will never be able to reach the church. You'll never be able to reach the university until you understand what they are saying, and you have to take it head on. So that is what I came up with while I was sitting here listening. I don't know if we have time for the other part.
You actually still have 7 minutes. 7 minutes and 19 seconds. Go ahead.
I'm going to give my written presentation. Back in 1935, Albert Einstein denounced anti-Semitism in American academia. The more things change, the more they stay the same. He said, "The hostile attitude of universities towards Jewish teaching staff and students has been increasingly perilously, even though it manifests in a genteel or hypocritical manner. Unfortunately, the current Jewish leaders do not comprehend the seriousness of the situation, similar to the German Jews in the time of Hitler. They believe that they are able to put an end to the problem by being silent and disregarding it, and they thus miss the time for creating places of support." And so Einstein said this about the universities back in 1935. If you look at today, when we're talking about anti-Semitism, there are a lot of Jews that are part of that movement. There are a lot of Jews that are in the BDS movement. There are a lot of Jews that are driving this. And so you have to discuss that too when you discuss what's taking place in academia. The U.S. State Department defines anti-Semitism as a certain perception of Jews, which may be expressed as hatred towards Jews, rhetorical and physical manifestations of anti-Semitism that are directed against them or non-Jewish individuals, their property, their community institutions, their religious facilities. And it may manifest itself by targeting, as you know, the nation of Israel because it represents the collectivity of Jews. And it blames Jews for whatever's going wrong in the world. It's the Jews. They have these conspiracies. They want to take over the world, the protocol of elders, and all of these things. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, Google it. But you should know. Elites in academia, you're not going to go on a college campus and find a faculty member that's going to say, "I hate Jews, you know, Jews are all these terrible things." They have a language to say these things without openly expressing it. And so they don't openly condemn Jews, they do it in a very subtle way, and so it doesn't look the way that you might expect it would look. They don't joke about the Jewish physical appearances. Instead, the criticisms manifest themselves as anti-Zionism and in the BDS movement. And BDS stands for boycotts, divestment, and sanctions against Israel. It's a global movement. It stands, according to them, I'm reading from their website now, for freedom, justice, equality for the Palestinian people and the American way and apple pie and all of this wonderful stuff. And so according to this narrative, Israel is occupying and colonizing Palestinian lands, discriminating against Palestinians, and we can't have any discrimination, right? So that's what Israel is doing, against the citizens and denying poor Palestinian refugees the right to return home. I mean, that's bad, right? Right, okay. BDS was inspired by South Africa's anti-apartheid movement. It advocates pressure, techniques, and tactics to force Israel to obey the law. We want everyone to obey the law, right? Okay. BDS emerged from a 2001 conference against racism, racial discrimination, xenophobia, and related intolerance that took place in Durban, South Africa. And again, listen, BDS, this boycott movement, emerged from a conference organized against racism. We're all against racism, racial discrimination, xenophobia, intolerance, all of these bad things. And the movement is appealing to people because it's framed as social justice. And the church is ignorant. Social justice, the words, it sounds wonderful. Who would be against social justice? The people that embrace it don't understand that it's Marxism, and so they embrace it. And so that's one of the reasons that it has been attractive to people, because it sounds good. The fruits of the movement has been a dramatic increase in anti-Semitic attacks. There's an organization that was founded in 2015. It has a tracker, the Anti-Semitic Tracker, founded by two University of California professors. They have documented more than 3,000 incidents on college and university campuses since 2015, more than 3,000, and it's increasing rapidly. And so that's part of the context. BDS and Students for Justice in Palestine, that was founded in 2000. These organizations are behind a lot of what's taking place on campus. And according to this Anti-Semitic Tracker, or Track of Anti-Semitism, it says that the BDS movement demonizes Israel with false charges of crimes against humanity, singles it out for abuse while ignoring the human rights abuses and intolerance against women and ethnic minorities and other religions in the Middle East, cutting off the heads of Christians, boiling them in hot oil, or dropping them in cages in the ocean. That's disregarded. They're focused on Israel as being the abuser. So it's demonic, it's Marxism, it's critical theory, and so under the influence of this kind of hatred and ignorance, widespread ignorance, the same people who condemn Israel and are critical, they are people that they discriminate. They're not speaking out for the Jewish students and faculty and people that are being attacked, but they're criticizing white supremacy. They're all worked up about white supremacy, yet they're doing something that is probably even more widespread than white supremacy. And President Trump, to his credit, he passed an executive order, or he signed an executive order targeting college and university campuses for their anti-Semitism towards Jewish students, and that was done, fairly recently. So it is a serious problem but we can address it, but we have to understand it first.